As he continues to chase a fresh contract there, it's definitely something worth monitoring. And when we shift our focus to Cleveland, there's plenty to dissect. The next chapter of the Browns rookie class kicks off this week with a mini-camp. But the real storyline centers on the quarterback situation. At the moment, there are essentially two competitions unfolding. Rookies Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are locked in a battle for the QB3 role, while the QB1 job is also under heavy scrutiny with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, both vying for the top spot. Let's break this down with NFL analyst Mike Renner and lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones. Guys, I want to start with the QB1 conversation. JJ, I'll go to you first because the consensus seems to be that this is Joe Flacco's job to lose. But with Kenny Pickett in the mix, who also brings some NFL experience, what are you hearing about who's most likely to secure that starting nod in Cleveland? Well, first and foremost, this is going to unfold over the full span of training camp, joint practices, and preseason matchups, JJ explains. Someone is going to have to outright earn this job. I wouldn't necessarily say Joe Flacco has to lose it. I think this can be a legitimate competition with Kenny Pickett. Regardless of what you, Mike, or anyone watching at home might think about Pickett, his underwhelming stint with the Pittsburgh Steelers, considering his draft position, or his backup role with the Super Bowl champion Eagles, this is still a fresh battle. Yes, Flacco led the Browns back to the playoffs 2 seasons ago, but let's not forget that his run with the Colts last year was underwhelming. Some of that playoff magic clearly faded. The coaching staff and front office want this battle to play out fairly between the two. That said, I do believe Flacco holds the upper hand. If, over the first 3 days of camp, Flacco takes the majority of first-team reps, I wouldn't be surprised. But if that split changes 2 weeks from now, it will all come down to how Flacco and Pickett perform under pressure. Renner, taking this a step further, let's analyze the Browns' opening stretch of the season. They faced the Bengals, Ravens, Packers, and Lions in their first 4 games. If you had to choose between Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, which quarterback are you betting on to get at least one win in that brutal opening stretch? For me, it's Joe Flacco, Renner states confidently. We've already seen him thrive in this offensive system. It's very telling that Kenny Pickett, a former first-rounder who was supposed to get every benefit of the doubt because of his draft pedigree, has already been moved on from by 2 organizations. The Steelers cut ties after just 2 seasons, and even the Super Bowl-winning Eagles, one of the league's best-run franchises, didn't see him as even a reliable backup option. That says a lot about where his game stands. With Flacco, we've at least seen proven production. Pickett has just 1 career 300-yard passing performance. Flacco, during his last stint in Cleveland, had 5 straight games of 300 yards. For all those reasons, I think Flacco offers the higher ceiling. Sure, he may have a lower floor after what we saw last year in Indy, but he's also capable of stringing together impressive outings in a way Pickett hasn't consistently shown. But the QB room drama doesn't stop there. There's also the rookie duel between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders for that QB3 spot. Renner, I know you're high on Dillon Gabriel. Critics have raised concerns about his size and whether his game translates to the NFL. Are you betting on Gabriel to secure that QB3 role, or does Sanders have the edge? I'm putting my money on Dillon Gabriel, Renner says without hesitation. The biggest reason is that he simply avoids taking the kind of sacks that Sanders does. Gabriel averaged around 20 sacks per season during his 5-year college career spanning Oregon, Oklahoma, and UCF. In comparison, Shedeur averaged 45 per season at Colorado, more than double. That's a huge red flag at the NFL level. We saw what happened when Deshaun Watson was on a record-setting pace for sacks before his injury. The entire offense fell apart. You can't afford that from a rookie quarterback. It's similar to what we saw with Caleb Williams at USC, and those habits can carry over early in an NFL career. So if one of these guys is thrown into live action, I'd trust Gabriel's decision-making and pocket awareness over Sanders's at this point. So, you're leaning Gabriel for QB3. JJ, that brings us to the final QB roster spot. It feels like either Gabriel or Sanders will end up on the practice squad. If Gabriel wins this battle, does Sanders stick around, or is he a target for another team? What's your projection? If Gabriel beats out Shedeur Sanders, I honestly don't see Sanders sticking around on the practice squad, JJ responds.
And I'll break down why. Setting the scene. The Browns have made it crystal clear. They're building a team rooted in experience and emerging talent. They're looking for players who can contribute immediately, stay healthy, and grow into long-term cornerstones. Last season, the defense flashed brilliance, but ultimately lacked consistency. Due to injuries, yes, but also a shortage of explosive, high-impact playmakers. And no position has been under more scrutiny than the linebackers, the heart and engine of any defense. Linebackers don't just make tackles, they set the tone, cover elite tight ends, plug the run lanes, and apply pressure on the QB. Cleveland's had dependable players in that room, but if they want to elevate under new defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, it's time to raise the bar. The Jordan Hicks Dilemma. Jordan Hicks is a name Browns fans know well. A respected veteran with the reputation of a cerebral, high IQ tackler, Hicks has long been admired for his locker room presence and in-game instincts. When healthy, he's reliable, physical, and provides mentorship to the younger guys. But that key phrase, when healthy, continues to cast a shadow. Injuries have plagued Hicks throughout his career, and in an NFL landscape shifting towards speed, durability, and youth, that's becoming a red flag the Browns can no longer ignore. The next man up? According to analyst Damon Wolf, the Browns may soon part ways with Hicks, not due to a lack of skill, but because of pragmatic roster building. The franchise needs to evolve, faster, stronger, younger, and that puts Hicks in a precarious position, especially with rookie linebacker Nathaniel Watson lighting up the field in camp. Watson has been turning heads with his athleticism, football IQ, and relentless motor. If he continues this trajectory during preseason, the coaching staff may have no choice but to hand him Hicks's snaps, or even his spot on the final 53-man roster. A harsh reality of the game. This is the brutal truth of NFL roster construction. Veteran presence alone doesn't guarantee longevity. While Hicks brings invaluable leadership, experience, and intangible grit, those attributes don't always outweigh the cost of unreliability due to injuries. Schwartz's defensive scheme demands versatility and high-motor linebackers who can cover, blitz, and flow sideline to sideline. And that's exactly what this coaching staff is prioritizing as they look to rekindle the Browns' defensive identity, reminiscent of the punishing 1980s era or their resurgent 2010s defense. All right, let me pull you into something that's been simmering beneath the surface of the NFL, an undercurrent that began as a faint murmur but has since erupted into a full-blown roar. And at the very center of this growing storm, Cleveland, Ohio. Now, I'm not being dramatic when I say this. We may be witnessing the genesis of something monumental, something electrifying, something nobody anticipated. Yet here it is, unfolding before our very eyes. If you're anything like me, you've likely heard the rumblings, maybe a stray tweet, a passing radio segment, or perhaps you stumbled upon some leaked minicamp footage and thought, wait, what did I just see? But here's the thing, you felt it. There's a shift occurring, and it revolves around one name, Shedeur Sanders. Yes, that Shedeur Sanders. The rookie, the 5th round selection, Shedeur Sanders' son. The very same prospect most people assumed would quietly sit on the sidelines, bide his time, learn the playbook, and maybe, just maybe, contend for a backup role someday. That was the script. That's what the so-called experts forecasted. That's what the depth chart projected. But Shedeur? He clearly missed that memo. Because what he's doing right now in Browns camp is rewriting the entire narrative. And I need you to fully grasp just how wild this really is. We're not talking about some rookie flashing in notepads drills. We're talking about a young quarterback who walked into one of the most congested QB rooms in the league, featuring names like Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and Gabriel, and somehow became the focal point of the offseason. If you're enjoying this, take a moment to hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's rewind. Let's go back to draft day. 5th round. Late pick by quarterback standards. Most figured Shedeur was a developmental guy, maybe just a camp arm or a long-term project who'd ride the practice squad. That's the usual journey for day 3 QBs. It's an uphill battle. But Shedeur? He didn't walk in like a 5th round pick. From the moment he stepped inside the facility, his presence was different. His intensity, his focus, his professionalism. And that's not just media hype. That's coming straight from inside the building. I've been listening. I've been connecting dots. Thank you guys. See you next video.